Okay, this is a hard decision. The real question and the challenge is, should I rent or should I buy? I know for me, buying a house was one of the most liberating and empowering decisions I've ever made, but it was also one of the scariest. It's something that has to really be well thought out. Even if you're in a good situation in life, you have to be in the right headspace to be a homeowner as well. Hey y'all, and welcome back to Modern Woman. And today I just wanted to have a chat with you about renting versus buying, the pros and the challenges. Buying a house is such a personal decision, but it is a thought that it's something that has to really be well thought out. Even if you're in a good situation in life, you have to be in the right headspace to be a homeowner as well. You can be very much financially stable and ready to buy a home, but if you're not wanting to do the work of home ownership, it can be a hassle and not enjoyable. And who wants to have that much of a responsibility and not enjoy it? On the flip side, renting an apartment has its own unique set of challenges and was very beneficial for me at the time that I was renting. I'm just gonna share my experiences with renting and buying and give you some of the pros and cons of each so that you can make a more informed decision if you're in that space of really thinking through and deciding, is this something I want to do? So, tell me, where are you in the process? Are you renting and looking to buy a home? Are you living with your parents and you're ready to strike out on your own? Or maybe you are getting ready to leave college and figuring out what the next move is. Been there, done that, wrote the book, have the t-shirt. I want to tell you a bit about how I made the transition from renting to being a homeowner. Right out of college, I rented with a friend for a year or so. And then I lived with a family, didn't pay rent, but helped out with some things. And that was in exchange for rent. And then I moved back to my home state and had rented here for about 4 to 5 more years, I guess. Yeah. About 2 years into renting here, or 3 actually, I wanted to buy a home. But I wasn't able to do it because my credit wasn't good enough yet. And I had some dings from some late payments and those lean days. You know what I'm talking about. So it wasn't working. So I lived in apartments pretty much from 2011 to 2015. And then in 2015, I bought my first home and I've been a homeowner ever since. So about 5 years. And what I really liked about renting, the pros for me, number one, the prepaid maintenance. My Lord. I will never take it for granted again. You don't have to worry about fixing stuff at all. It's all taken care of for you. And then also with renting, at the time that I rented, it was definitely the more economical option. It allowed me to save a lot more money. And I know that rent costs have gone up quite a bit since I've moved back to Georgia, but generally speaking, renting was cheaper. In some respects. And depending on how you enter into home ownership, if you save up a ton of money and then you buy your house, you can have a really, really low mortgage and be good to go. For me, that wasn't quite the case. As far as my monthly bills are concerned as a homeowner, those were lesser than my rent expenses, but then you have the maintenance that came up and the home repairs that I talk about in the home warranty versus home buyer video. And so yeah, there's that. The other benefit to renting is you don't have debt because the mortgage is real and you're responsible for it. And the effect of not paying mortgages and having that as a ding on your credit would be a lot harder to recover from than late rent for a month or two. But as we all know, renting is not all fun and games, and there are some challenges that come along with it. Here's what I've experienced with that. Little control over your home atmosphere. You are at the mercy of whoever the apartment complex situates you around. Now, some nicer apartments have good soundproof apartment housing. I have some friends who rent an apartment and they have no noise at all. But that's not the case everywhere, especially with those older buildings. I've had loud music neighbors. I've had neighbors with loud children. I've had very gross neighbors that caused roach infestation in my apartment building. Yay. you don't have any control over that. And depending on how much what your rental agreement is, you may not even be able to pay to leave, to break the lease. Because one of my apartments, I would have had to pay the full amount of rent due to leave it. It was terrible. The other thing is no equity. Now, I know that owning a home with a mortgage, you're not fully owning that home, but as you pay down your mortgage, you have equity that gives you some financial control, and it's like an asset. I refuse to do a home equity loan because I like having the equity in my house. That's what allowed me to sell the one home and buy another one. Now, the third thing that was a challenge for me, again, with apartments was the limited control over the pest situation, especially in the South in Georgia where I live, because the bugs are real and they're big, okay? And in my first apartment, like I said, I had the indoor cockroach issue, and I couldn't break my lease to leave. I would have had to pay, if I was 2 months into the lease agreement, I would have had to pay another 10 months worth to leave that apartment. It was a terrible thing. So those are some things to consider with renting. If you are a renter, you already know that. If you left maybe your parents' home, you purchased a house and you're considering renting, this is where you're gonna have to think about it and figure out which one is better. So, the last thing with renting, the ultimate last thing, is renting does require a strong commitment. I actually found that when I had the money saved up, I had more flexibility choosing to sell a home and buy another one than I did in a rental situation, because you can sell your home whenever you're ready. Now, there are a whole host of other things that go along with that, with how to prepare the house, finding the right agent, having money saved up to go through the selling and buying process. So I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it was more flexible for me. I do want to put out there that I was the kind of renter who was ready to move after a year or two. So, but being a homeowner, typically when you own a home, you're looking to stay there for a while, unless you're a person who buys houses to flip them. So when I was ready to leave my house, I had the flexibility, but I can't say it's the same for everybody. As far as home ownership is concerned, it's great. And I want to talk about the pros of that. First, I love having control over my living space. If you have the budget to get the kind of home that you want, even if it's a modest home, you can be very picky about the style, the feel of your house, the layout. And if the market's good, you have even more options. I will say I've purchased this second house in a seller's market. My first one was in a buyer's market. The second one was in a seller's market, and I had enough equity in the house to get a little bit bigger house, a little bit nicer. I had more options, basically. I was able to go and look and see lots of different floor plans, lots of different layouts, and really choose a house that I liked. The other benefit that I've loved about it is the property ownership. It's just something about being able to own a house. And I'm going to be real. As a single Black woman in my 30s, being able to purchase a home and own it, even if I haven't done everything amazingly right, it's really empowering and gratifying, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm free to paint the walls. I'm free to change the furniture. I don't have to worry about putting too many holes in the wall or whatever. Now, I do take very good care of my house because, like I said earlier, all the maintenance is on me right here. And privacy is another great benefit, especially when you own a single home space. I'm not really familiar with condominium living, so it could be the same there, condominiums and lofts that you buy, but having like a single home structure, the privacy has been great. And flexibility. It is a lot of work to buy and sell a home. I'm not going to kid you there. Not to do it well and set it up in the way to really have the best experience. But you get to move when you want. And when the market's working for you, it's really working for you. Switching into the challenges of home ownership, the market determines a lot. I bought my most recent home in a seller's market. Because of that, I had a really easy time selling my house. But the buyers of this house that I purchased, God bless them, they were incredibly difficult. But my agent fought. She was a fantastic agent, Erica Mitchell. If you're in the Atlanta area, check her out. She's amazing. I found that the houses were going like that. So you had to be really on it and super flexible with your schedule. The next challenge, like I said earlier, you're fully responsible for all of the maintenance of your home. And listen, now I paid attention with the apartment, so I knew some things. Air filter changes, carpet cleaning, appliance repairs, appliance maintenance, yard work. If you want your yard to look right and you don't want to do it yourself, you gotta pay. And being a single homeowner, even more of the weight of that is on me. Now I have great roommates who definitely help out, but I have to choose those vendors, and I have to pay the vast majority of the actual repair stuff that goes on, and it can be a lot. It can be daunting. And you are also fully responsible for that debt. You don't want to take debt lightly. If you find yourself in a situation where you're buying a home and things are tight, that mortgage can keep you up at night. So you really just want to make sure you're ready. I am all for buying a home, and I'm all for renting. I'm all for you doing what's right for you in that season of life. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, share what your home ownership or renting experience has been like. I want to hear from you. If there's one thing I would love for you to get from this video, it's to remember to make a decision that's going to be wise and empowering for your life. If you choose to rent because that's where you are, if someone's been saying, hey, you should really buy a home, you've got the money, you've got this, what a great thing it would be as a woman or as a business owner who has the money for their business that they didn't have before, or being the first person to have this kind of job or have this kind of profession. If you owned a home, how great that would be. Like, we hear those things, but if you're not ready, you're not ready. Don't do it. But on the flip side, if you are ready, if you are fiscally able to do it, financially able to do it, if you have the mindset, if you're ready to do the research, it's not that you have to know it all before you buy a home. It's that you want to be ready for what the responsibility of home ownership will entail. You actually can do it. You can run a home. You can make it happen. And you can, if you have friends who own houses, that is a fantastic place to start, or coworkers or acquaintances that you have a good relationship with. You've got resources that can help you. And I can also say, my real estate agents were very useful. Even if they couldn't tell me which vendor to use, they could direct me to someone who could, So that's what I recommend. At any rate, I hope that this video has helped you in your journey of home ownership and figuring out which option is right for you in this season of your life. And it's been great chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you in the next video.